Rome's armies became more professionalized as the hardships of war shaped their spread throughout Italy. The end of the 4th century, the Roman army had grown to the size of 4 legions formed under the more flexible manipular system. This came as a reaction to the military problems Rome faced during its spread across the Italian peninsula, especially in wars against the Gs and Samnites. However, as Rome's impact extended beyond Italia, the troops underwent further changes to meet its most formidable enemies. The Punic Wars against Carthage saw Rome fighting for its very life, and through this battle learned the importance of better logistics and long-term plan following wars against Greek kingdoms like Epirus and Macedonia. Roman battlefield tactics evolved to be more flexible, while also reacting to the changing landscape as they began to create a permanent foothold in the east. By the end of the 2nd century BC, the citizen army proved lacking for Rome's ongoing military needs under Gaius Marius' views toward military participation. Changed as enlistment was opened up to the landless poor, the Roman army became a career standing force with men serving for longer terms, and the military was reorganized away from the older maniple method to the more flexible and powerful group system, which became the backbone of Roman battlefield tactics. Men were given standardized tools with the cost often excremented by the state over the closing years of the Republic. Retired soldiers
Could also be given land in exchange for their service in practice. Rome had abolished the part-time military of a citizen army in order to keep a skilled army in constant service, which was important for fighting prolonged campaigns and keeping an ever-growing state after the civil wars of the late Republic. Caesar Augustus rose from the ashes as Rome's first ruler in 27 BCE, bringing with him a slew of changes. The most impactful of these saw him reduce the bloated force down to 28 legions, building a leaner, more efficient force loyal to the emperor. Previously, the legions were raised for specific wars, then split after 6 years. But these 28 legions were meant to be permanent. Army made up of long-service veterans, Augustus knew that a soldier's loyalty was only as strong as his paycheck. Thanks to his training in the Civil War, timed to prevent any potential funding crisis, he created the Irea Military, a military bank funded by new taxes from his wider fiscal reforms. This fund made for soldiers, pensions providing loyalty and stability within the ranks. And Augustus also reorganized the reserve forces, bringing non-citizen troops into the military who served alongside the legions and were granted Roman citizenship after their service. These reforms organized power while keeping the soldiers in line, allowing it to remain the backbone of a changing, growing empire. The success of these legions hinged on the leadership traits of its leaders and the political infrastructure that served them. Roman generals were often urged to be opportunistic and adaptive, taking advantages wherever possible. On the battlefield, this strategic flexibility was matched by Rome's political leadership, which rallied vast resources to help the military, the Senate, and other government bodies inspired people to make significant sacrifices, creating a culture of loyalty and duty to the state. This mix of military and political acumen allowed Rome to continue its expansion and strengthen its power. The effectiveness of Rome's forces was not solely due to its size, but also its organization and planning flexibility. Roman legions were highly ordered units with a hierarchical layout that allowed for better coordination and adaptability. On the fight, this flexibility was important, even outside of battle. Legions were capable of building defensive camps each night during campaigns, providing safe bases of function and greatly reducing the risk of surprise strikes. This was thanks to men in a Roman legion being trained across a wide number of fields. Engineers, workers, and craftsmen all worked together to build these camps, as well as forts, bridges, and siege engines, important for both defense and offense. Artillerymen managed and operated advanced war machines like ballista and onagers during long sieges, while help and support personnel ensured efficient logistics from providing the troops to maintaining the extensive road networks that allowed rapid movement and conversation across the empire. This mix of skills made the Roman army not just a war force, but a highly planned and self-sufficient network capable of sustaining lengthy campaigns in diverse environments. However, after every campaign came the long and arduous job of merging foreign peoples into the Roman fold. But keeping control was not always a matter of military might. The Romans were firm believers in the idea of universal law, striving to create one law system that applied to all citizens and issues, which helped to solidify their vast kingdom under a shared legal framework for them. The law was important in unifying many diverse people under their rule. As local groups and their elites showed their loyalty to Rome, they could be gradually merged into the Roman system. Policy was often important for this process, as it was important for making allies, isolating possible enemies, or even creating reasons for war when necessary. Later integration often began with the granting of partial citizenship, which came with certain law protections, military duties, and some civic privileges, over enough time or work to Rome. Some subjects could be given the chance of full citizenship, which, given the right to vote, marry under Roman law, and appeal in legal issues by extending Roman citizenship, either partially or fully, to new subjects, are offered not only legal safety and access to trade rights, but also the prestige of being part of the empire. It was a strategy that tried to assimilate defeated peoples and foster loyalty to Rome above all else, which helped create invaluable pools of ability all across the Old World. Over time, the gradual expansion of citizenship helped to Romanize vast parts of the empire, making governance more manageable and the empire more united. Most importantly, Romanization increased the pool of recruitment, allowing for the growth of new legions or the restocking of existing ones. The raising and maintaining of legions was backed by a diverse and vast network of taxation and complex system, partly inspired from old Persian administrative methods. Taxes were important for funding the army-building infrastructure and managing the expansive governmental systems needed to govern distant provinces. However, the sheer size of the empire meant that the Roman tax system wasn't consistent everywhere. Land taxes were sometimes assessed based on the yield of the land, but in many regions taxes were placed based on the types of land, regardless of its output. Customs fees and trade taxes were levied on goods moved across the empire, which greatly contributed to the state's revenue, especially in key areas like Egypt and along the eastern frontier. Even wealth taxes were occasionally placed on personal assets, but the load of taxation was often unevenly divided, with certain regions and social groups bearing larger loads than others. The collection and handling of these taxes was undertaken by trained officials and state judges. Written records such as surveys and land registries were carefully maintained, allowing the Roman state to keep track of its resources and people effectively. Roman troops, sometimes lacking over time, the long service of foreign soldiers off to the grain supply system or annona, is perhaps the most famous example of how the Roman bureaucracy handled resources on a massive scale, sorting the collection and spread of grain to feed the city of Rome and its huge legions. Beyond that, the use of written contracts and standardized processes across the empire meant that tax obligations were clear and enforceable for the people who had to pay them. Rome's method to governance contrasted with its often dismissive attitude toward foreign countries. While Romans sometimes viewed other peoples, especially those outside their kingdom, as barbarians, they were also realistic in governing new areas. Rome often showed a sense of respect for local customs and leaders, knowing that this was key to keeping stability and loyalty within a vast and diverse empire. Even with its philosophy of general rule, Rome still allowed different degrees of local liberty in its provinces, permitting local leaders to keep some power as long as they pledged allegiance to Rome and met its fiscal and military needs. This policy of respecting local governance reduced opposition to Roman power and made the empire's vast areas more manageable. Moreover, Rome's use of client states and allied territories built a network of semi-independent areas that were loyal to Rome and helped to protect its borders. These foreign parts also came to be an important part of the Roman army, as non-citizen reserve troops played critical jobs in supporting the legions. In some cases, assistants were valued by Roman commanders because of their specialized jobs as shock troops, cavalrymen, and skirmishers, which the traditional led to their assimilation into Roman society, and with it, the incorporation of different cultures politically. Just like Hellenistic Greece, local elites were also brought into the aristocracy as Roman society law and language gradually permeated the provinces, with each new land subjugated. Roman legions brought back a host of treasures and tools. This included enslaved people who were important to the economy, precious awards like gold and metal, which were used to mint coins and fund further military operations, and agricultural goods, which fed both the populace and the army. The taking of mineral-rich areas such as the silver mines in Spain and gold mines in Dia greatly boosted Rome's treasury. Additionally, the introduction of new lands into the empire opened up new shops and trade routes. Roman merchants involved in trade across the Mediterranean and beyond, importing luxury things like spices, silk, and ivory from as far as India and China. The wealth gained from these conquests and trade not only funded Rome's continuous expansion, but also funded the building of monumental public works, such as churches, aqueducts, and roads, which helped Roman rulers to keep public support long after successful conquests. Ports and docks, especially those along the Mediterranean, acted as docks for the Roman fleet, as well as hubs for trade and military logistics. They supported urbanization by linking faraway frontiers with the capital and other urban places, integrating them into the economic fabric of the empire. These developments helped keep the flow of wealth and tools necessary to sustain the empire's military and executive functions. Urbanization and the creation of colonies were crucial to Rome's plan for securing and Romanizing newly captured territories, especially in places with military or economic value. These colonies acted as garrisons to pacify potential revolts, sites of Roman culture and hubs of economic action. Veterans of the troops were often settled in these colonies as a prize for their service, building a loyal and Romanized people. This not only promoted the spread of Roman customs, language, and law, but also helped integrate local people into the Roman state, strengthening power over the provinces. Cultural integration also played an important role in Roman expansion, much like it did with their Persian and Hellenistic ancestors. Roman soldiers brought with them customs, language, and religion, embedding these through design, like amphitheaters and public baths, which became cultural main points in life. Within the conquered areas, religion was also a major part of Roman culture cohesion. The empire often took and Romanized foreign deities, allowing conquered peoples to keep their religious customs while aligning them with Roman views, with the most important of these being the deification of emperors that began with Augustus after his death. It was a faith syncretism that helped plate and integrate diverse groups, contributing to the cultural and political stability necessary for supporting Rome's vast empire, while Trajan's reign marked the height of Roman power. The empire itself would continue to live on for 3.5 centuries in Europe and nearly 1,000 years longer in the East. This was because Rome still continued its vast empire through armed strength, administrative efficiency, economic integration, and cultural acceptance. It was a proven method that allowed the empire to weather through catastrophe after catastrophe and leave lasting effects far beyond the borders of the Roman Empire, influencing modern-day law facilities and culture in many areas throughout the world. This video was made in collaboration with OR Project. For more information on how OR Project offers free, thorough, and fully backed social studies curricula for middle